Good morning, students. Today we will have to discuss the birth control of the reproductive health. The chapter is reproductive health, and today we will have to discuss the birth control. What do you mean by reproductive health? Why we are studying this particulars we have discussed in the previous lecture. Today we will have to discuss, and these are the certain points which we will have to discuss under this reproductive birth control. Why birth control we have discussed? Because of India is a fast growing population, the country where the multiplication of the population will take place in the coming years. So it is very much essential to educate the people how to control the birth. Because it has been observed due to lack of the knowledge, so many unwanted births also takes place. So these are the certain topics, certain points by which we can control. And we have discussed in the previous lesson, what do you mean by natural birth control? That is not ejection of the sperm inside the female body, or the courtship in the particular safe period, etc. Now second is the barrier method. The barrier method means check the entry of the sperm inside the body of the female during ejaculation. As you know that during courtship, the sperm in the form of the semen eject out from the male body, and in natural process it will insert inside the female body, and due to contraction of the vagina and the uterine wall, and thirdly the lashing movement of the tail of the sperm, they move towards the fallopian tube, and there if ova waiting for them, then it becomes fertilized and the cause of the pregnancy. But if there is a barrier between the male sex organ and the female sex organ, or you can say that the uterus, then that the sperm will be checked to entry inside the. So these are the condom which is used by male. The diaphragm, cervical cap and vault are the cup-shaped or the deep cup-shaped elastic structure which will be installed by the expert inside the female body. These are the diaphragm, cervical cap and the vault. And it can be removed, it can be multi-used many more times. Secondly, the birth can be controlled by the killing of the sperm. So, certain chemicals in form of the sponges or the form of the jellies are used, and that will be ejected inside the vagina before ejaculation. The foam, the sponge or the froth which will be formed by that particular jelly-like capsules will function as the spermicide, and they kill the sperm, and ultimately the pregnancy will not be sustained, the birth will be controlled. Now one of the common process of the birth control is the IUD, Intra-Uterine device, which will be installed inside the female body by the expert, and ultimately they are responsible for the suppress the motility of the sperm and also reduce the fertilizing capacity. And it is one of the most common type of the birth controlling device. Here it is of three types. One that is called non-medicated, that is called Lifeson loop. Secondly, that is called copper releasing. It is very much common in form of the copper T or the copper 7 or the multi-load 375. And this also copper ion reduce the sperm motility, the movability of the sperm, and also reduce the fertilizing capacity of the sperm. Third iodine is the hormone releasing hormone, iodine. In this iodine, it has been observed that progesterone, progester and the LNG20 are used, and they make the uterus unsuitable for the implantation, or also not suitable for the proper movement or the leaving of the sperms, hostile condition of that uterus. So these are the most common varieties. It is very much common that it will come several times in the examination, CBSE examination, or in the PMT examination or the NEET examination. It has been observed that this type of questions are very much common. Now, oral contraceptive. These are called pills because it will be used in form of the capsules, and that will be utilized, that will be taken by the female in a particular time period, particular intervals. Especially in many pills, it has been observed that it will be taken after the 5th day of the menstruation, and that will be continued up to 21st day. It has been observed that in this particular period, if that particular will be taken, many pills, the pregnancy will not be sustained because they inhibit the ovulation and implantation also. The most very much common many pills is the Saheli, and that will be formed, that will be invented in the CDRI, Central Drug Research Institute, Lucknow. It is non-steroid preparation, and their side effects is very much limited. Of course, in certain female it will be just like in the case of iodine, it is very much safe, but in certain female it has been seen that the certain side effects is also been observed. The same thing that will be observed. Secondly, that is called combined pills. In this case, what happens? It has progesterone and estrogen, and they also inhibit the ovulation and implantation, but it has certain progesterone and estrogens, and this particular combined pills are available in the market in form of the Mala-D and Mala-M. Now, next type of the birth controlling device is the subcutaneous implantation. It has been observed that the certain small needle-like structures are planted inside the skin of the female, and that they release the synthetic progesterone for the many more months, and during this particular period the female will not be conceived after several times of the courtships, because it also performs this function that is called inhibition of the ovulation and implantation. One chemical, one injection that is called Depo-Provero. It is a hormone injection, and it has been observed progesterone in this particular hormones, a gradual release of the hormone progesterone will take place, and that is also functions as the birth controlling device. Suppose due to certain accident, that may be in the case of rape also, if the female is in condition of their time period is suitable for the pregnancy, sustaining pregnancy, and suppose they will be raped, or in case of the rupturing of the condom or any other causes, it has been observed that the couple will have no need of the kit, and in this case what happens, the morning after pills will be utilized for the checking the pregnancy, that is called pill 72 or unwanted 72. These are also used, but it is just in the emergency, not it will be utilized, not it will be used in the proper way. Now these are the methods of the birth control. In this particular methods, a gap between the two kids are also maintained, but it is not the permanent method of the birth control. If this device will not be used, then the pregnancy may sustain. But if there are certain methods during this, the permanent birth control will also be takes place. We know that there is a vasa differentia in male, and through this vasa differentia, the sperm will move from the testis to the abdominal cavity, and in this particular abdominal cavity, ultimately over the urinary bladder, they mix with the certain chemicals, with the certain glands to form the semen. If the vasa differentia will be cut, then what happens? The sperm will not move inside it. Only the secretions during ejaculation, only the secretion of that particular glands will be passed out through the penis, and the courtship will be performed, but the sperm is not in that particular viscous liquid, so the pregnancy will not be sustained. The same way, we know that the ova is released from the ovary, and that will be trapped by the fimbriae and ultimately move up to the fallopian tube. If a cut in between the joining point of the uterus and fimbriae, the tube will be cut, then what happens? The ova will not reach in up to the fertilizing site, that is melismus. Then what happens? The ovulation, that is the birth control will be takes place. These are the certain device to control the birth. In next lecture we will discuss about the one device that is called MTP. It is called medical termination of the pregnancy. It is also it will be also considered as the birth controlling device. It has been observed, if this particular is not available, that is called pill 72 or unwanted 72, then what happens? The female become pregnant and they have no need of the kid. Suppose they have already one son and one daughter and they have no need of the kid. Further, there is no need. Then what happens? During a safe period of the pregnancy, that is the 12 weeks, can be medically terminated, and it is still legal up to the 28 weeks also. It is legalized process for the birth control, and it is also called MTP, that is called medical termination of the pregnancy, and it is also called abortion. It is also called abortion. It has been observed that in several times the abortion is a very much common process, and the female where the abortion will take place, they don't know that the abortion has been taken place, because it is several times, it is just a common process. But in certain cases it has been by MTP also. In next lecture we will discuss about the STD. It is sexual transmission transmitting the gauge.